This is the Weigh In Podcast by Ben Bois Chestnut.
It's the actual Mario.
On this week's Weigh In, well, first and foremost, we talk about Jake Paul, Tank Davis is at a new location. Nice. And we talk about Oscar De La Hoya says Terrence Crawford's not better than Mayweather. But we will break that down up to down for you. That is this week's Weigh In. So, if we get started with this week's weigh-in, on the grind of normal, Jake Paul, Tank Davis has now been switched to Miami, Florida. It is no longer in that Georgia; it's in now Miami, Florida. So, change in venue. Any of things could have happened. You know what I mean? I mean, it could have happened in the case of ticket sales, the case of anything. But what we know is there are some changes going on to the event. But will that stop the verdict? No. I think it's still going to be the same thing that's going to happen. I think we just have to ask ourselves at what capacity will. Whoa, yeah, all right, there, gents. We'll talk to what capacity it will happen, under what and what will go on for that event. So, again, I will reiterate how I feel and what I feel. I feel that right now, if we get the good Jake Paul we've seen, it could very well be the latest Jake Paul we saw. It's going to be a Tank Davis fight. But if we get a better, bigger Jake Paul like we saw before, some of that earlier Jake Paul that was on his knockout streak, now we're talking a little different if we see that Jake Paul. So it's all about what we may or may not get out of Jake Paul. That's going to be the very well difference here.
Exactly, 100% agree. I think this Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis, Tank Davis is going to be a great fight. As we know now, it's in Florida, Miami, Florida. That's crazy and it's awesome. And the way I see this fight is, this is going to be a tough and hard opponent for Jake Paul. Jake Paul's now uh, going to a guy that's undefeated, who has titles, who is a champion. He's going to Tank. They call him Tank for the reason he shoots his opponents down with his right hook and whatever he does. Tank is a crazy. He's awesome, and this is gonna be a really hard fight for Jake Paul. As I was seeing on oh my God, what Impulsive by his brother Logan Paul. I agree with Logan Paul says. Like I said, he thinks it's gonna be a hard fight for Jake Paul because this is not just a regular fighter. This is a champion, an undefeated guy. Tank Davis, he's next level, and Jake Paul, he has to be prepared for this fight. If Jake Paul doesn't do his best, Jake Paul could get hurt and get knocked out by Tank Davis. But if Jake Paul gets smart and trains a lot and studies him really good, just like Crawford studied Canelo, then this will be a perfect good fight for Jake Paul, and he could win it. But Jake Paul has to come hard and fast, because if he doesn't, he's gonna lose. Because Tank Davis, he's a monster, bro. He's crazy. Jake Paul has to be prepared for this. I'm afraid for Jake Paul. I love Jake Paul, but I want him to win this fight. But if he's not ready, he's gonna get killed by Tank. If it was me, he has to fight really good so he could win this fight. If he doesn't, he's gonna get knocked out and it's gonna be bad. I love Jake Paul and I love Tank. But if it goes for me, I'm a Jake Pauler. I want Jake Paul to win. But if it's for me, I say Tank knocks out Jake Paul. I'm going with Tank on this one. Because I don't think Jake is
Ooh,
prepared for this fight.
you got Tank Davis.
Yes. Jake
You
Paul's
got
not
Tank
prepared
Davis,
for
Tank
this.
Davis, Tank Davis. Interesting,
Yes.
interesting, interesting. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. No, but this is a Jake Paul fight that we like its schedule. We like what's going on. We like everything that has gone on. This boxing game is getting very different with a lot of things that have happened, like talking about that Terrence Crawford fight. Big things going on there, big things happening there, a lot of good things going back and forth. And I think with this scheduling of Jake Paul, I think this Jake Paul Tank Davis is another stepping stone, notched on the belt. And I think it's going to be really good. And I think we're talking about this on a manifest that is just absolutely better than most. I think that that's something that we all have to say to ourselves. Is this something that we can see with everything going? Terrence Crawford did the unthinkable. I called it. I said it here on the pod. Hey, Crawford, I got Crawford. And that's exactly what happened. I think that that's the terms to say something, but in return to see all the noise that surrounds everything, yeah, I think this is, the percentage of Jake Paul going out there and doing a Lamont Roach is very slim because he's got to lose a lot of weight. And as we saw with Ryan Garcia when he faced Tank losing a lot of weight, the hydration claw gets to you. And that's just where I kind of feel that is the way it is. But another absolutely reckless wreck down moment, Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya thinks that Floyd Money Mayweather is better than Terrence Crawford.
That's a biased situation, bro. People gotta be quiet, just calm down. You can't combine both of those two. Floyd Mayweather was the best in his boxing
Yeah, but
era
how many
long
weight
time.
classes did he
Well,
undispute? How many weight classes was he undisputed? How many?
none.
Okay. How many was Terrence Crawford undisputed?
Three.
Three. So I'm going to solve it for you right there. One was undisputed and was able to capture every belt and fought everybody. Come on. You're telling me that when Mayweather fought Canelo, that Mayweather cleanly won that fight. Cleanly won that fight.
Yeah, but we're talking about
Yeah,
different
but
eras.
no. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. You're telling me Mayweather is the top of the totem guy, but look at how many years he ran from Pacquiao. Look at how many of those years he ran from Pacquiao. I like Mayweather, but word to word, look at how many years he ran from Pacquiao.
It's two different people. Mayweather was good back then in the boxing age. Now we have Crawford. They're two different people. But if we say who's better, Crawford is better. He has more experience.
Crawford was undisputed. Mayweather never was undisputed. You talk about Mayweather was the top of the totem. Why did he never want to be
No, if
undisputed?
you talk about who's the best, Crawford is eventually the best. But they're two different time zones. One already fought, one is the legend now.
Time zones? You mean time periods? You're
Yeah,
about
thank
almost
you.
like Floyd. Yeah, that's
Floyd
what I'm
was the
saying here.
best back
You can't.
then. Now we have Crawford.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, when you look at this straight root down, Crawford was undisputed. Floyd wasn't. That's very simple. And Crawford hasn't been beaten either, and he was 3 weight classes undisputed. You just can't. You can't compare it. One has done something the other one wouldn't even have touched.
Exactly.
Mayweather never touched wanting to be undisputed. I get you do your career the way you want, but Crawford, you tell him, hey, you can't beat him. Yeah, I'll show you. People say, oh, Crawford can't beat Canelo. Crawford's going to finally lose. What happened? What happened? Crawford
And
didn't lose.
and talking about Crawford, I don't know if you or anybody watching this video have seen it. The president of boxing, the Saudi Arabian president of boxing, whatever his name is, I was seeing that he wants Crawford to move up again and now fight Benavidez for his title.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is
And I also
crazy.
I love to see that fight. Benavidez versus Crawford. If it
I think
happens,
you have to look at it very, very cleanly. Very cleanly. Let's see.
yeah, whatever. I can't say his name because he's Saudi Arabian. I cannot say the name of the president of boxing. I don't know his name. I don't know. I saw that on Instagram, but then I saw it when I
It's
was
Testerkin. Yeah,
yeah, hey, that guy,
Testerky.
yeah.
Testerkin. Something like that.
Yeah,
We're
however you
gonna
say his name. I'm not saying it
just
because
we're
I'm not
gonna
trying to offend
apologize in
anybody.
advance for the butchering of his name. Uh, but there's just no way we're gonna be able to say that cleanly. Unfortunately, we're just not gonna be able to say that cleanly. We can try and get a clean translation of that so that we could see. Let's see what we can cleanly get as a translation for it, but it's just really different that we're not going to be
No,
able
but
to.
yeah, he wants to see Crawford versus Benavidez. Crawford goes up again for another title for Benavidez. I think that's if that happens, that's just gonna be awesome. I can't
That
wait for
what? That what? You
that
cursing now
fight
on the
is gonna
pod?
be
That you
awesome.
cursing now on the pod?
That
Oh
fight
my
is gonna be
God.
awesome.
Oh, this ain't let loose. This ain't let loose,
That
man.
shoot is gonna be a good fight.
Yo, I can't believe that. I can't believe that, bro. Man, I
That fight
can't
is gonna
believe
be
that,
good if
man.
that happens.
Turn the podcast into a let loose, bro. What in the loose, bro? No, I definitely think that Oscar De La Hoya to make that. De La Hoya has problems with everybody. Okay, De La Hoya says that because you had Mayweather at one point, but you lost him. De La Hoya has everybody, but I get why De La Hoya would go say that, but I don't agree with Oscar. I don't agree with Oscar on that. I really don't. I kind of feel like one was undisputed, one wasn't. I get in Mayweather's era, he was really good. That was a prime Pacquiao. That was a prime. Would Crawford have succeeded in that era, that time period? Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Every time period is different sets of boxers, and in their prime, a clashing of that. I think Mayweather and Crawford are very similar, but the master of the game is Mayweather, and I kind of feel like if Crawford was back in Mayweather's time period, no, I don't think Crawford would have. He might have still been undisputed three weight classes, but I don't think he's going to have been like better than Floyd, like in Floyd's prime. Now, if we're talking about if Floyd was to come and fight Crawford, now Floyd would win the fight. So they're in two different time period, but to look at it and say that you don't think one's different. First of all, Floyd was never undisputed, and as much as many want to say he did not run from Pacquiao, he did. They wanted to set that fight up years earlier. Years earlier, they wanted to set Pacquiao up. And when he fought Canelo, come on, Canelo did a solid job against Mayweather. And you're telling me Crawford wouldn't get in there and do a Lamont Roach like Lamont Roach did to Tank Davis? Yeah, I think Crawford would. He would have went in there and probably stunned Mayweather. Crawford is very accurate, and that's why he beats so many guys. He's very accurate. The accuracy, when we talk about that.
Crawford is the Tom Brady of boxing, the GOAT.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because Crawford didn't get beat twice to one team. One man didn't beat Crawford twice. Eli Manning beat Tom Brady twice. Twice in the Super Bowl. Twice. Not once or twice. Crawford hasn't been beat. He's unblemished. He's unblemished. He
It's
hasn't
still
lost.
the GOAT.
Yeah, but he's not an undefeated GOAT. Crawford's undefeated. You can't
Yeah,
even compare the two.
and with 7 kids, that's crazy.
Hey, we ain't gonna talk about a man's children, man. We ain't gonna do that. No. But Crawford, I think to solve the question, Crawford, Mayweather, Crawford. Plain
Agreed,
simple. Crawford.
Crawford.
Crawford all day. I think that's an interesting thing. If you're asking me how I feel about Tank Davis versus Jake Paul, Tank Davis. We have not seen a good looking Jake in a while, and I think that's going to take a huge effect. That's going to take a huge effect into the decision making of what goes on. I really believe that. True to cross the down. That's what I believe, man. So it's just something that we have to look at ourselves and say, what we got going on here. But that's the truth there. That I think Crawford put up a good fight. I think if you ask me, Crawford, I get that there are some fighters that they run from fights. Like Canelo knew that he did not want Jake Paul, but then Crawford beat you anyway. So joke's on you, but you still lost. You still lost. So it's just kind of like if Jake didn't beat you, I know everybody's gonna say to me, "Hey, you think Jake Paul was gonna beat Canelo?" Listen, yeah, I do. I do think that if we got a good looking Jake, yeah, I say the same thing about Tank Davis. If we get a good looking Jake, we get a Jake that comes in there and really boxes that fight.
Well, exactly.
We don't know what will
Canelo,
happen.
exactly. Canelo already lost. Canelo has nothing to fight for. So Canelo be smart and fight Jake Paul this time. You have nothing to lose. You don't have
No,
belts. You
Jake
don't
needs
have
to worry
nothing.
about the Tank Davis. Tank Davis is the bigger tick to knock down. Worry about Tank, man. Don't be
Go
worried about
Tank
no
after
Canelo.
Tank, go Canelo, and then go Benavides.
Benavidez? No, he can't. No, he can't. No, he won't beat no
And then
Benavidez.
Jake Paul, and then
No,
Jake
Benavidez
Paul,
will knock him out.
and Jake Paul versus Terrence Crawford.
No, I think Terrence Crawford will even give him a
Crawford
knock
will
him out.
kill Jake Paul.
Nah, I don't know. Crawford too accurate. Crawford way too accurate for that. I'm sorry, but I get Jake. Jake is good, but I don't think he's good enough to beat Benavidez, and I don't think he's good enough
You know,
to
right?
beat Terrence Crawford. I don't know what you're talking about, but no, I don't think he's that
No,
good.
Jake. No, Jake Paul has to prepare for this fight and do. If he doesn't, Jake Paul is gonna get injured and hurt in this fight and knocked out to the point that he'll be like, I retired.
I don't think that's not happen. I don't think you're gonna get an early retirement, Jake, but I do think that you're not gonna have Jake turn around and snuckle and beat Terrence Crawford. Not happening. Or freaking Benavidez. Not happening. It's not happening. It's just not. It really is not. It's not. I just don't think it is going to happen. But I think we have a good Jake right now, solid enough to beat Tank. I don't know about all that, but we got a good Jake. That's if Tank doesn't knock him out. Let's talk about that. That's if Tank don't knock him out first. Tank might knock him out during his fight.
Exactly.
So we don't know. We talked about Canelo getting beat. Well, Jake might have scheduled a little. He might have scheduled a little more than he can handle right now.
Yeah, Jake Paul is crazy.
Where they say you bite off more than you can chew. That's kind of what we're looking at right now with this Jake Paul. Has
If
he? Has
Jake,
he? Yeah.
no, finish up.
No. 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 Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Jake Paul, if Jake Paul just if Jake Paul fights like Canelo did, he's gonna lose. If he doesn't study Tank Davis good like Canelo didn't study Crawford good, you're gonna lose. If Tank does the same thing what Crawford does, study Jake Paul and keep going, Tank is gonna knock him out right away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You gotta think about in terms of film. I know for some of our wrestling viewers, we talk a lot about that. The film. That so much that can be learned, and I think that there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot to be put in. There's a lot to really be looked at, and I think in all terms, everything's really good. I think we got to kind of think to ourselves, at what rate do we do what? So it's going to get interesting. Obviously, I will always say Tank Davis is going to win that fight, but at the end of the day, I'm going to root Jake. I'm a root Jake, but I know what's going to happen. As much as I want to side Jake, I can root for Jake, but I know accurately, I think that very well may be a Tank Davis win. Now, but if Jake Paul does it, Lamont Roach gets in there and shocks us all, hey, that's going to be Tank Davis. I mean, that's going to be Jake Paul. Because listen, Lamont did something crazy. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Lamont come in there, he show us, hey, this guy is beatable, but you have to know what you're doing. And I think we might have something similar like that with Jake. So I think that's a very good way to go about it. Yeah.
Exactly. No, this is gonna be a great fight. It's gonna be dangerous for Jake Paul, but hopefully he pulls it off.
Dangerous for Paul. How could you go say dangerous for Jake? No, it's going to be dangerous for Tank. Tank has
No,
never faced a guy
Tech is
like Jake.
destroying Jake Paul.
I know, but if Jake is fixated on this fight and focuses 1,000%, hey, we get a good Jake Paul. Tank may be in trouble.
Exactly. Then he could win.
Listen, Jake Paul's a taller guy, I believe, right? Jake's a taller. Tank's got to punch
I
out.
don't know. You have to look that up. I don't know.
What do you mean? I have to look that up. You see, hey, it's the same thing. Same way I keep an internet tab open while I record. You should be doing the same thing, brah. I get away with it all the time. If you don't know, that's what I do. I keep an internet tab open and I Google it. So if we go Jake Paul, so I can get it Googled. Jake Paul is 6'1".
Gervonta Davis.
Davis is
Jake
five
Paul is
five.
taller. Way
He's five
taller.
five. Tank Davis is 5'5". So look,
Yeah, Jake
in
Paul
the time it took
6 feet
you
and one
just to
inch.
search up Tank Davis, I done got both of them. This is what I'm talking about. Keeping that
Yeah, yeah,
internet
both of them
open
right
for you.
there.
Keeping that in. Look at that. Look at that, bro. He's on regular chat GPT, bro. He's not even on that Google, bro.
I
He
use
on that chat.
ChatGPT for
So
everything.
as we get to the end of this epi, because we gotta get to the end, I would like to say thank you guys for coming on. This is a short one because we got stuff to do in terms of business, but thank you. This is another episode of the Weigh In. I'm Benoit Chestnut.
I'm Sebastian Romero.
And like, comment, subscribe, share, weighing out.
Well, I love you all.